Hello, everyone. Welcome to the April 4th Coalition Show. This is the May 12th, 2025 show. Happens to be my daughter's birthday, so happy birthday to Emma, my nephew Matthew too. It's a big day in that regard. But the April 4th Coalition is we are for workers' rights and collective bargaining rights, and are against tax breaks for the rich and corporations who ship our jobs overseas. We endorse all of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but as is our custom, we read Article 23. So Section 1, everyone has the right to work, to free choice of employment, to just and favorable conditions of work, and protection against unemployment. Michael Wilbur will do number 2.
Everyone, without any discrimination, has the right to equal pay for equal work.
Number 3, everyone who works has the right to just and favorable remuneration, ensuring for himself or herself and his family and her family any in existence worthy of human dignity and supplemented, if necessary, by other means of social protection.
Number 4,
Yes.
everyone has the right to form and join trade unions for the protection of his interests.
Thank you very much, Michael. We regret that our other members of our panel can't be here today, but Michael and I will try to carry us through the best we can.
I got faith in you.
I have faith in you, Mike.
Between the two of us, we're going to do it.
Yeah, we're going to focus again. As you can see, we have our protest sign here that I've been using. Is demand due process of law for all. Camille Abrego Garcia, Rumenza Artu, and Mathut Camille, you and me, we all need due process of law. So we're going to try to focus this show on our rights. I went on YouTube and I looked. I have one video from Catholic Charities, some from the ACLU, another for a families organization for immigrants' rights. But I want to focus on people knowing their rights. And as a United States citizen, you have rights. But just being a person in the United States, our Constitution guarantees you certain rights. So I think it's educational when we learn about other people's rights and our rights. We never know when we or family members are going to be in this situation. So let's watch the first video. I believe it's from U.S. Catholic Charities on Know Your Rights.
Hi, my name's Barb Graham, and I'm an attorney at Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Milwaukee in the Refugee and Immigration Services Program. This is a video about knowing your rights if Immigration and Customs Enforcement approaches you. All people living in the United States, including undocumented people, have certain rights under our United States Constitution. If you are undocumented, and if an Immigration and Customs Enforcement or ICE agent knocks at your door, know that you have certain rights. ICE is what we sometimes think of as being the immigration police. But please understand these rights. You do not have to open the door. You do not have to open the door or let the officers into your home unless they have a valid search warrant signed by a judge. An ICE deportation warrant is not the same as a search warrant. If this is the only document they have, they cannot legally come inside unless you verbally agree to let them in. If the officers say they have a search warrant signed by a judge, ask them to slide it under the door or to hold it up to a window so you can see it. If the warrant does not have your correct name and address on it, and if it is not signed by a judge, you do not have to open the door or let them inside. If at any point you decide to speak with the officers, you do not need to open the door to speak with them. You can speak with them through the door or step outside and close the door. You have the right to remain silent. You do not need to speak to the immigration officers or answer any questions. If you are asked where you were born or how you entered the United States, you may refuse to answer or remain silent. If you choose to remain silent, say so out loud. You may show a Know Your Rights card to an officer that explains that you will remain silent and wish to speak to a lawyer. You may refuse to show identity documents that say what country you are from. Do not show any false documents and do not lie. You have the right to speak to a lawyer. If you are detained or taken into custody, you have the right to immediately contact a lawyer, even if you do not have a lawyer. You may tell the immigration officers that you want to speak to one. If you have a lawyer, you have the right to talk to them. If you have a signed form called a G28, which is a form that shows you have a lawyer, give it to the officer. If you do not have a lawyer, ask an immigration officer for a list of pro bono lawyers. You also have the right to contact your consulate. The consulate may be able to assist you in locating a lawyer. You can refuse to sign any or all paperwork until you've had the opportunity to speak to a lawyer. If you choose to sign something without speaking to a lawyer, be very sure you understand exactly what document says and means before you sign it. If you want more information about your rights or to learn if you might be eligible for immigration benefits or relief, speak to a reputable, competent immigration lawyer. You can go to the American Immigration Lawyers Association to connect with a lawyer in your area.
Wow, that was informative. Hey, know your rights. I can remember having a union president tell us, don't sign anything but your paycheck. Now it's direct deposit, so you don't even have to sign that. So that's one of the things, unless you have a lawyer present, don't sign any document, But that was made by Catholic Charities, and got to congratulate the Catholic Church. They elected a new pope, and I have a quote from an old pope, Pope John Paul II. I like to refer to this one. This is in 1984 he wrote this. He said, "The needs of the poor must take priority over the desires of the rich, the rights of workers over the maximization of profits, the preservation of the environment over uncontrolled industrial expansion, production to meet social needs over the production for military purposes." I wish we listened sometimes when we are told things. We have another one, Know Your Rights. I believe it's from the ACLU.
Familia, I know we've all been worried since the election, but yesterday in class, my teacher handed out some materials called Know Your Rights, and reading through them made me feel more prepared. All immigrants living in the U.S., even those who are undocumented, have rights guaranteed by the Constitution. We can't predict if immigration officers will look for you and Dad because you don't have legal status, but we can be prepared and have a good plan in place if they do.
You're right, Mija. Let's make a plan together.
First, we should find a local legal aid organization or pro bono attorney that helps immigrants. We need to seek the help of a qualified legal professional, not a notario. Notarios are not legally qualified to provide immigration help, and some are just looking to scam us. A legal professional can help us if anything happens. I don't think we have to worry about this, but the Know Your Rights materials said that people who have criminal records and people who have been deported are at high risk and should see a lawyer now. Second, and this one is really important, Mom and Dad, you need to play detective and find, make copies, and organize into a binder all of our important documents. IDs, birth certificates, marriage, medical, financial and school records, and immigration records and letters, including your alien registration number if you have one, the 8-digit number that begins with an A. You can share these with a lawyer to keep them safe. You should also ask the lawyer about how you can designate someone else to care for me and Marty, since we're minors, if you are detained or deported. The options will be different in different states, but may include a guardianship, a caregiver's authorization affidavit, a power of attorney, or other types of letters or forms. This person should be someone you trust who has legal status. This designation means that if anything happens that makes it hard for you to communicate with us, like you are placed in a detention center, the person you've chosen can step in and make important decisions to keep our family from being separated. Mama, you joke about your memory going, but you need to memorize the name and phone number for the lawyer, for me, and for the guardians you choose for me and Marty. We should also start saving money for legal fees or bonds. We can check to see if there is a community bond fund nearby. This this is important for all of us to know. If they come here, to the house, don't open the doors. No abran las puertas. Everyone, say it with me.
No abran las puertas.
ICE is only allowed to enter if they have a warrant with your correct name and address signed by a judge. Ask them to slip it under the door so you can examine it.
But Leah, what if they have a warrant with Mama's name on it?
Then we all need to stay calm and call an attorney right away. We need to look at the warrant carefully and see whether it is signed by a judge or an immigration official. ICE usually will have a warrant of deportation or removal, which is signed by an immigration official, not a judge, and does not give them permission to enter the home even if Mama's name is on it, unless we give them permission. In that case, we should not open the door. Although opening the door does not mean that we are giving them permission to enter our home, officers may say later that we did. Don't say anything to them except, "I have the right to remain silent." Also, do not sign any papers. You do not have to sign anything without your lawyer there. We should record the incident on our phones and take notes of the officer's badge number, agency, and full name, as well as the details of everything that happens. Mom and Dad, make sure to tell the officers you have children, since we are U.S. citizens and it could impact whether or not they choose to detain you. If your friends' children are undocumented, however, they might not want to mention them in case ICE decides to detain them as well.
Are they allowed to arrest me in a public place, like a park or the street?
Only if they have a warrant with your name on it. Otherwise, to arrest you, they need evidence that you are a non-citizen. Remember to stay calm and not to run. If you are stopped, ask the officer, "Am I being arrested or detained?" If the officer says no, then ask, "Am I free to leave?" If they say yes, calmly walk away. If they arrest you, remember the plan we made and ask to call your lawyer. Remember, you have the right to remain silent and refuse a search. And Dad, if they come to the restaurant and do a raid, same rules apply. Make sure you make a plan with your co-workers that you trust ahead of time, where everyone agrees to stay calm, not to run, and to stay silent. Remember, employers don't have to let anybody enter their building without a search or arrest warrant. Same goes for schools.
What about if I'm driving Marty to soccer practice and the police stop me?
Show the police your driver's license. If you do not have a valid license, you should not be driving. If they ask, show your car registration and proof of insurance. Other than that, you don't have to say anything else. If an officer or immigration agent asks to look inside your car, you can tell them that you refuse to consent to the search. But if police believe your car contains evidence of a crime, your car can be searched without your consent. In all of these situations, it's important to stay calm, stay silent, don't mention where you were born or how you entered the US, record details and names, and not run away. Also, make sure never to carry fake papers or identification with you. That will make the situation worse if you're stopped. Don't carry papers from another country with you, such as a foreign passport. Such papers could be used against you in the deportation process. If you are taken to a police station, you have the right to make a phone call to your lawyer. Now, Mama, what will you do if they detain you and take you to the police station? What did we say in the plan?
I will show my license or ID if I'm required to give my name. Stay silent, not sign any papers, and ask to call my lawyer.
Yay! Exactly, Mom! Also, make sure to ask for bonds so that we can hopefully pay for your release. You also have the right to call your consulate and to ask for copies of your immigration papers and charges, as well as your notice to appear.
Leah, you're right. I feel a little better knowing that we are prepared and that our family knows the plan. I love you guys.
I'm proud of our family and our community. Together, we are stronger.
Well, thank you. That was a pretty good educational video. We have a couple more that we wanted to show about your rights. And why don't we just go right to the next video?
It was 5:30 a.m. when ICE came to Esther's apartment. ICE stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The agents lied to Esther, saying they were police officers investigating a crime and her husband, Alexei, was a potential witness. "Is Alexei home?" they asked innocently. Now Esther's gut told her she should cooperate, but she remembered something she'd heard on the radio. ICE had been making early morning sweeps using tricks like this to get people to open their doors. Esther remembered she had rights. ICE may try similar tricks at your home. They may say they're looking for a friend, relative, or roommate. But do not be fooled, and do not open the door. Instead, remain calm and be polite. Tell the agents that you'd like to see a warrant and their ID. Ask them to slip these documents under the door or hold them up to the peephole. Without a warrant signed by a judge, ICE is not allowed to enter or search your home. ICE usually won't have a warrant, but they may lie and say they do or show you something else that looks official. So look carefully and take pictures of whatever they show you. If they refuse to share any of these documents, then ask them for their card and contact information. Do not show the agents anything or say anything except, "I do not consent for you to enter my home. I do not want to talk to you without a lawyer present. Please leave." Now, ICE won't always listen to you and may enter your home using force. But saying these things might help you in court, even if the agents don't listen. The other videos in this series will help you understand your rights if ICE enters your home or arrests you. Esther and Alexei knew their rights, and the officers left. This is all scary, but remember, we have rights. After an encounter with ICE, take notes about what happened, writing down as many details as you can remember. This information might be helpful in future immigration proceedings. It's important that you and your loved ones are prepared for encounters with ICE, and that you have a plan for what to do if one of you is arrested, including information about who to call. If ICE comes to your home, remember, you have rights. Do not open the door. Ask to see a warrant signed by a judge. Tell them you do not consent to them being at your home. Please leave. If a loved one is arrested, you should be able to locate them at locator.ice.gov.
What do you think, Mike?
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
We have another one about we have rights. Let's see that one.
It was a normal afternoon. Judy and her friend Liz went out for lunch. The two met in elementary school and have been friends ever since. Liz is an American citizen, and while Judy was brought to the U.S. by her parents when she was only 4 years old, she is undocumented. Liz noticed two men that seemed to be following them, but she thought nothing of it. That's when the men called out Judy's name as if they were old friends. When she turned, the men approached fast. Judy had just been identified by ICE. ICE stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Stories like this happen every day and are happening now more than ever. ICE approaches people in the street, at work, in their car, or even in court. They often will not be in uniform. It's scary, but remember, we have rights. If you are stopped by authorities and don't know who they are, ask them to identify themselves. Then ask, "Am I free to go?" If they say yes, walk away and do not answer any questions. In Judy's case, the agents told her she was not free to go. If this happens, do not resist or run away, and do not say anything, except, "I want to use my right to remain silent. I want to speak to a lawyer." Remember, you can ask to speak to a lawyer even if you don't have one. If the agents search your bag or your person, say, "I do not agree to this search." They are looking for documents proving your immigration status. Witnesses have the right to film the interaction as long as they do not interrupt the arrest and they are transparent that they are filming. Judy was lucky. Even if you do everything right in a similar scenario, ICE may still arrest you. Another video in this series will help you understand your rights if you are arrested. After the encounter, Judy and Liz took notes about what happened, writing down as many details as they could remember. Be sure that you and your loved ones are prepared for encounters with ICE and that you have a plan for what to do if one of you is arrested, including information about who you should call. If ICE stops you in your community, remember, you have rights. Remain silent. Ask to speak to a lawyer. Say you do not agree to their search. If a loved one is arrested, you should be able to locate them at locator.ice.gov.
Well, those were very informative videos. It's just unfortunate that our focus is on people that are most of them are hardworking people. They're being labeled as gang members or whatever, but the people in Berkshire County that have been, for the most part, that have been arrested by ICE, you know, they're just hardworking people that are just trying to make ends meet. Our focus, I think, should be on poverty, you know. Poverty is the enemy. Here's a video of a congressional hearing where the treasurer is talking to a congresswoman from Houston, Texas, thanks to Forbes News. Let's watch that video.
Woman from Texas, Ms. Garcia, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the Secretary for being with us today. I want to start first by just clarifying your testimony and its delivery. Why did you ask for your witness statement to be embargoed until this morning?
Sorry, me? Pardon me?
Your testimony reads right at the very top, embargoed until delivery, which means that we didn't follow the usual practice of this committee of getting the testimony 24 hours in advance so that committee members can review it and prepare for questions. Yours was posted at 10:01. The committee was at 10. Well, it looks like you need...
My staff is just telling me that it's standard practice.
It's your standard practice? It's not our standard practice. As a committee.
I'm told that it was standard practice.
Okay, you were told by whom, sir?
So my comms team and legislative affairs team working with the committee.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think for the record, I think you should clarify to the gentleman that that is not our standard. And I know that at least I didn't know anything about this until I got it here. And I don't think our committee staff on the Democratic side was notified that we would be getting all your testimony late. I just wondered, you know, why you had made that request, and clearly at the top, embargoed until delivery.
Well, embargo to delivery, I think that was mostly meant for the press.
We're not press, sir. We're the we're the members of Congress that have oversight. So, Mr. Chairman, I would hope that you not condone this kind of late submission. It just doesn't help, frankly, for some of the atmosphere that's created when we all just sit down and we still don't have your testimony. Well, then, we just sort of don't feel really good about that. It's not our custom and
Congresswoman,
practice.
I appreciate the importance that you put on my statement.
Well, thank you. Notice is important, sir. Do you know what the poverty rate is in our country?
I believe that the poverty level is a fixed number.
No, do you know the poverty rate in this country?
I believe it is in the teens.
In the teens, okay. Well, it's about a little over 11%. It just strikes me that most of all your testimony is always about the tax cuts and cutting costs, and it's always about tax cuts, and it's always about the rich. But nothing is ever said about poor, other than you suggesting that you worked yourself
No, ma'am,
college.
no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. and
Sir, I read your testimony. That's not anywhere in here.
Deductibility.
That is not in here, sir.
Deductibility
I am
of
referring
auto
to your
loans.
testimony and what I've listened to. I said right up front, I can see you and I can hear you. You've not said one thing about what we're doing to help the poor. In
Well,
fact,
none of your colleagues
even when
have
we were
asked me.
talking, even when we were talking about the car seats, that impacts poor people more than anyone else, because not only can they usually not even afford a car seat and have to go to a garage sale to find one, now it's going to be even higher. Your president is suggesting that he wants to give a $5,000 bonus to women to have babies, and then what? Just leave them out on the cold alone? No car seat, no food, no Medicaid, no chip
Congresswoman,
program?
I can tell you the worst.
And I'm asking you right now, sir.
The
that
worst thing
you-
for
you
working
need- you
families
need to-
will be
as a
the
treasurer-
expiration of the 2017
As Secretary of Treasurer,
Tax
it's not
Cuts and
just
Job
about
Act.
the inflation rate. It's not just about the GDP. It's also about making sure that we keep the poverty rate in this country low. There are people who are living in poverty that never have lived in poverty before. You also failed to say here, you say unemployment remains low. I mean, the Senate should have read unemployment went up.
Ma'am,
Because it did.
Under the Biden administration,
And the growth
we
administration, we're not talking
experienced
about Biden, sir. We're
record
talking
food bank
about your
usage.
testimony here
Record food
today
bank usage.
about the current president and his plans. Because I can tell you, I'm from Houston. I'm concerned too about some of the tariffs on energy. We have done a lot to increase trade in Houston, construction, everything after the pandemic. And all things were growing. Everything has been growing. But now that the Trump tariffs have surfaced, it is threatening Houston's economy. I represent the area where almost the entire ship channel is in. The petrochemical companies all are in my district. The port is in my district. Everybody is trying to figure out
Gentlewoman's
what the
time has
hell we're going to
expired.
do.
Mr. Chairman,
The ranking member.
I ask unanimous consent to enter.
Well, she more or less saw what the priorities of the current administration are. It's for the rich, tax cuts. But we're against tax breaks for the rich and corporations who ship our jobs overseas. So we just want to say power to the people and keep our community safe and keep people welcome in our community. Power to the people.
Power to the people.
Mistakes of the bosses we must pay for. From the cities and the farmlands to trenches full of mud. War's always been the bosses' way, sir. The union forever defending our rights. Down with the black leather workers unite. With our brothers and our sisters in many far off lands. There is power in a union. Now I long for the morning that they realise brutality and unjust laws cannot defeat us.